Easter Sunday. Let's see what the news says today. Nkandla Fall Guy hits out at Zuma. Vavi reveals Zuma aid for Duduzane Gupta. And there's a new ANC whip in Parliament. And that's the good news. Easter Sunday. Do you know, it was always a very difficult part of my growing up years. Easter. Well, we were living in Bethlehem in the Free State, and of course we were very poor, and my mother couldn't afford to buy us any Easter eggs. I think we had one egg for me and one egg for my little sister baby, and Mama hid it in the backyard, which is impossible to hide anything, and our dog Himmler always got hold of the eggs before we didn't eat them, so we didn't have eggs. And then we had to go to church in Gekerk en Kerkstraat, and of course had to be very careful not to mix up our Easter with the Catholic Easter, Antichrist. And then, of course, I would be sitting up in the organ loft with my ma and, of course, the choir, because my mother was the organist in NG Kerk. And I was always very uncomfortable sitting up there with all those ooms who kept on looking at me and winking at me and doing funny things with their mouths. This, sis, ma said they were praying. And then, of course, the sermon was like a Hollywood horror film. I mean, there was Lieve Jesus. He was having to drag that cross across the cobbled streets of Jerusalem. And I grew up in Parliament in Cape Town with those cobbled streets. I know what hell that can be for a woman in high heels. And there was Jesus barefoot on the cobblestones with that heavy cross on his shoulders. And then Pontius Pilate being so horrible to Lieve Jesus and having him whipped and hurt. And he was bleeding. And then again back on that cobble street with a cross and dragging the cross. And people were so horrible to him and shouted and spat at him and threw things at him. Didn't they know that he was going to die for their sins? What, they deserve to go to hell. And then Golgotha, like Marikana, that hill outside Jerusalem with those 3 crosses. And Jesus in the middle cross with those common criminals on either side. And, by then I was in floods of tears, because I remembered the sermon of the week before, which told us how Jesus came into Jerusalem on a donkey with all those palm trees waving at him and people hailing him as their savior like they do with Donald Trump. And I was there on the cross. And what had happened to the donkey? Anyway, we must look at the bright side of things. Here we are. And it is Easter Sunday, and my little grandchildren all brought me Easter eggs. Look at these lovely little Easter eggs. I've got so many, I don't know where to start. Of course, Winnie Jean spoiled it by just saying to me, Gogo, how come Christians celebrate Easter and Christmas with public holidays, and my friends who are Jewish or Hindu or Muslim cannot celebrate their religious holidays as public holidays? Isn't that unfair in a democracy? Well, of course look, I've never thought about it. It's going to keep me awake at night. It's really very worrying. But it'll be over soon. It's not my best time of the year. Next week I'll see you, and then we know Lieve Jesus has risen from the dead and gone up to heaven to be with Nelson Mandela and Mother Teresa and Dr. Verwoerd. Not Dr. Verwoerd. Not Dr. Verwoerd or Cecil John Rhodes, and not Jan van Riebeeck.
Evita, Evita, and you know what we mean. Evita, Evita, always on the scene. Evita, Poseidon, Evita should be queen.